Hi, I am Lola Day, and welcome to the Perimenopause Playbook, where we empower women in peri and postmenopause to take control of their lives, starting with your home as ground zero for cognitive health. Through neuroscience-informed design, we create a toolkit to support your cognitive, emotional, and personal transformation, evolving with your needs. This is where you reignite your power and make things happen again, starting with the space you live in. Stick around. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back to episode 16 of the Perimenopause Playbook. So a few weeks ago, I was listening to a neuroscience podcast, the Huberman Lab, where there was something that he mentioned on that episode that hit me and sparked a host of questions in my brain. I was doing research into lighting and color applications, and he mentioned something about how, he had mentioned this before because he talks a lot about blue light exposure, getting the early morning sunlight, but there was something about the way he said it this time around that triggered the question: if blue light wavelengths are interpreted in a certain way by the brain, why does blue pigment have a completely different effect in the brain? So we know that certain colors and hues impact the brain in certain predictable ways, and light's color temperature and intensity also impact the brain in predictable ways, but I hadn't up until recently wondered why two elements in the same color and light wave family have very distinct and different influences on the human brain. So imagine this scenario. If you've ever walked into a room and instantly felt tense, overstimulated, or unsettled, or have you ever walked into a room and felt calm and instantly at ease? You might think it's the clutter or the layout of the space that is influencing these emotional responses. But what if I told you that the wavelengths of light and the colors in your space are actively shaping how you feel? Research tells us that light and pigment do more than just decorate, and they're more than just decorative elements in your interior space. They communicate with your brain. Your environment is constantly sending environmental cues to your brain, and it's constantly interpreting it every minute of every day. And if you're in perimenopause or postmenopause, your sensitivity to these environmental cues is heightened. So today, I'm going to explore the science of blue and green light particularly. I'm going to explore their pigmented color counterparts and how their interactions affect our cognition, our mood, and our sleep quality. So if you're struggling with brain fog, anxiety, or disrupted sleep cycles, the way your home is designed might be working for or against you. But don't worry, I will also be sharing with you how to correct these imbalances and design a space that actively supports your well-being. I am passionate about how interior design supports our cognitive health, and I see the home in my practice as a biological system which is continuously sending signals back and forth to our nervous system, which in turn influences hormone production and even our emotional cadence. And interior design, this practice, how we serve people with interior design, it is the most powerful tool for creating balance in our home environments. And with the right synergy of lighting and color choices aligning with our body's natural rhythms, we can immensely optimize our spaces. We can upgrade our sleep quality, our focus, our stress levels, and even influence hormone production. So if you have been struggling with sleep, stress levels, or brain fog, your lighting and color choices could be the missing link. Now I'm going to dive into a bit of neuroscience here because it's what influences the content of my podcast and it's what influences the service that I provide. So let us start with blue light. We've all heard that blue light from screens can keep us awake at night, but the reason behind this is deeply biological, and I'm going to explain why. The neural pathway of light detection is an intriguing process. So blue light wavelengths, they enter the eye and stimulate the intrinsically photosensitive retinal ganglion cells in our eyes, it's different from the rod and cone cells. Those ones detect color wavelengths. Now, these ganglion cells travel via the retinal hypothalamic tract to communicate directly with the suprachiasmatic nucleus, and this SCN is the brain's master clock. This region of your brain controls your circadian rhythm and it regulates the balance between cortisol and melatonin production. So in the morning, blue light exposure signals wakefulness and it keeps you alert and active. But at night, that same blue light disrupts melatonin production, making it harder to fall and stay asleep. Now that we've talked about blue light, let's talk about the color blue in pigment format. The eye detects color via the cone cells in the retina. I mentioned that earlier. And these signals, they travel to the lateral geniculate nucleus in the thalamus before reaching the visual cortex, where color perception is constructed and interpreted. Now, from this area of the brain then sends signals to the limbic system, which is a center of emotion and memory. So these are very distinctly different neural pathways, and they interpret light and color, even if they're in the same family, same color family, in very, very different ways. And I find it really intriguing. And let's look at how these interpretation of color influences us psychologically. Blue is often perceived as calming in psychology. It's associated with expansiveness. Think of the sky and the ocean. They're both vast and they're endless. And studies have shown in environmental psychology suggesting that blue hues can reduce heart rate and lower blood pressure, which is why they're often used in relaxation spaces. But here's where things get interesting. If your walls are painted blue and you have artificial cool LED lighting, you might not be getting the calming effect at all. Now, under high intensity blue light, blue pigments reflect even more blue wavelengths back into your space, which in turn creates a cold and overstimulating environment. So the very thing that's supposed to be soothing might actually be tricking your brain into staying alert and hyperactive. On the other hand, we're talking about green light and color now. Green light interacts with our brain in a completely different way. So unlike blue light, green wavelengths don't strongly suppress melatonin production, which makes them more neutral when it comes to sleep-wake cycles. Neuroscience research suggests that exposure to green light can help reduce migraine frequency and lower stress levels. And the reason for this is that green wavelengths have been found to activate the paraventricular nucleus, which is a part of the hypothalamus that's responsible for regulating stress responses. And I thought that was really cool. And this is also why green is the popular choice for use in healing spaces, hospitals, and recovery centers. Now, let us talk about green as a color and a pigment. Now, green is often associated with nature, renewal, and tranquility, which is why it is so effective in biophilic design applications. However, green under artificial lighting, the pigments appear dull or even gray, especially if it's under fluorescent or cool LED lights. Now, this can unconsciously drain your energy rather than replenish it, which is why so many people find that their calming green wall feels off in the evening. Now, how do we navigate this? Using warm toned lighting enhances green's richness and makes it feel more grounding. Now, I want to share two real-world examples of how this theory of light and color perception and the specific green and blue light and color perceptions has been playing around in my head and how it plays out in interior design applications. So let's say, for instance, I'm talking a case in point now. Let's say you've painted your bedroom in a deep, tranquil blue to create a relaxing retreat for you. So it looks perfect in natural daylight because you have all that natural light with the full spectrum of light coming in, and the color saturation is perfect. But at night, your cool toned LED bulbs make the space feel sterile. So instead of the relaxing feel that you're after, that you're getting during the day, you feel oddly wired and you don't know why. The answer to this reason lies in a theory called metamerism. And this is a way light changes how we perceive color. Now, blue pigments absorb longer wavelengths of light and reflect shorter ones. So when illuminated by cool white or blue heavy LED lighting, those blue walls reflect more high energy wavelengths, which keep your brain in a state of alertness. Metamerism is such a cool concept. And this is why some people struggle to fall asleep in a blue room despite blue being a calming color. Now, let us talk about a green living room as another case in point. During the day, the natural light coming in through your windows makes green walls feel earthy and grounding. But at night, under standard artificial lighting, green takes on a muddy and almost lifeless tone. And that's because artificial green light lacks the natural spectrum of sunlight, making pigmented green surfaces appear washed out. And the result of this is instead of it feeling relaxed and calming, you feel sluggish or drained without realizing why. That's why I just mentioned it. And why is this important? It's particularly important for women in perimenopause to understand this mechanism and to understand how these the way that our eyes perceive, the way that eyes and our brains interpret color and light, because we often experience heightened sensory sensitivity due to hormonal shifts, which affects our dopamine and serotonin regulation. I, for one, can testify to, ever since I started experiencing perimenopause, my sensitivity has gone through the roof. So if your home environment feels visually off, your brain is registering it as discomfort, even if you can't pinpoint the exact source. So the question now is, how do we navigate this and begin to explore how to fix this? The key to navigating this is harmonizing our pigment choices with the right lighting sources. So if, for instance, you have blue painted walls, balance them with warm dimmable lighting in the evenings to counteract overstimulation, and make sure that you have access to large amounts of natural lighting coming in through your windows, because natural lighting has a full spectrum of light wavelengths, and that is the perfect light spectrum that creates the perfect rendering of color saturation and hues. So if you're using green, layer a full spectrum bulb like that mimics daylight to maintain its restorative effect. And by all means, please avoid high intensity white LEDs in relaxation spaces, because these tend to distort pigment perception and they interfere with natural circadian rhythms. Now, another powerful strategy that I'm going to share with you is light and temperature control throughout the day. So use bright, cooler lighting in workspaces to maintain focus. We need the blue light to remain alert and active and focused during the day. So use that in the daytime, but shift to warmer tones in the evenings to promote relaxation and to signal your brain that it's time to wind down. Think of it as designing your home to mirror the natural light cycle. That's the transition of bright daylight tones in the morning through to golden hues in the evenings to soft amber and complete darkness at night. Now, this transition aligns with your body's natural hormonal shifts, which makes your environment work with your biology rather than against it. Now, for women navigating perimenopause, these small changes, like swapping out the wrong bulb or adjusting the placement of artificial lighting, can make a profound difference. And when your home supports your brain's natural rhythms, you will feel calmer, you will sleep better, and you will experience fewer mood fluctuations, because the space is supporting you through hormonal shifts and all the attendant hormonal imbalances that come with it. Now I'm going to explore specific ways that we can apply lighting and color strategies to spaces in the home environment. But that we will do when we come back from this break. So before we start to explore practical strategies, I would like to use this time to plug my coaching program. It's called the Reinvention Coaching Program. I'm not going to talk too much about it because everything you need to know would be in the links in the show notes, as well as relevant research to everything that I've talked about here with blue wavelengths, green wavelengths, blue pigmented colors, green pigmented colors, and how they impact our cognitive health. Everything is in the links in the show notes. But back to the Reinvention Program. So the Reinvention Program was birthed out of my desire to share all of the new research strategies that I have been applying to my residential spaces. And I have been using this long before I started experiencing perimenopause. I started to study neuroscience for interior design in 2019. And it started out in the support of people living with ADHD, but it pivoted into supporting women in perimenopause. So all of the strategies that I have applied to my own home environment, that I've seen huge changes in my cognitive health, in my focus, in my general emotional cadence, I have packed all of that into a 6-month coaching program that's not just you following a course or a program, but it also involves group coaching and one-on-one coaching depending on the package that you choose. So I'm really excited to share it with you. The doors are open now. Doors close February 28th and courses start officially March 1st. You don't want to miss out. The spaces are limited for the Reinvention Mastery Program. That's the more intimately connected one with my clients, where we'll be working on not just learning the what's, the whys in the house, but we're also going to be working together to diagnose the spaces and reinvent the spaces. And we're going to have group coachings as well, where all of your questions are answered in a group format. So yeah, I'm really excited to share that with you. Links in the show notes, and hopefully I would see you signed up. Now let's get back to the rest of the podcast. Welcome back. So we had talked about the effects of specifically blue light wavelengths on blue pigments and colors. And we've also looked at the green light wavelengths and green colors in residential spaces. We've looked at the pathways, the neural pathways, the specific neural pathways that they follow. And so now we're looking at specific ways that we can apply lighting and color strategies to spaces in our home environment. So every room in the home serves a different purpose, and choosing the right combination of color and light can either enhance our sense of well-being or it can disrupt it. So let us start with how I'm going to start from the progression of you've gone to sleep and you wake up in the morning. So we'll start with the bedroom. This is where our bodies are, this is where we go to regenerate, our brain regenerates, our body heals, and where you transition from sleep to wakefulness. And ideally, this is where your nervous system resets after the demands of the day. We already know that blue tones are inherently calming, and they slow the heart rate and they promote relaxation. But remember that blue light, especially from artificial sources, suppresses melatonin production, which makes it harder to fall into their sleep. So if your bedroom walls are painted in blue tones, pair them with warm, dimmable lighting. Think amber or soft white, and this helps to maintain the the calming effect of the color without triggering the wakefulness associated with blue light wavelengths. And also make sure that your color applications are not overhead lighting. Think wall sconces, think table or floor lamps, low level floor lamps, and think accent lighting. And now the same goes for green. Now, a soft sage or a muted green can be grounding and restorative, but if you pair it with cool toned lighting, the pigment can take on a grayish cast, which then dulls its natural vibrancy. So instead, if you're using green in your spaces, warm lighting would enhance the richness of green, which keeps the space feeling organic and restful. And more importantly, a wide spectrum light bulb in a warm tone also helps to enhance the richness of green. Now, let's move from the bedroom, let's move to the living room. And this is a space that needs to be both energizing and relaxing. And this is where lighting, the layering of light applications is absolutely essential. So color recommendations, earthy greens and warm terracottas work beautifully here because they offer a balance between stimulation and restfulness. So use earthy greens like forest greens or sage with undertones of beige or browns, and warm terracottas, like I mentioned. They're beautiful pairings, green and terracotta in the right hues, because the hues are also really important when you're using color combinations in your space. It's not just the color itself, it's the hues and the intensity of those hues in your color application. Now, if the lighting in your living room is too cool, these warm tones can feel washed out, making the space feel less inviting. So use smart lighting solutions that shift from cooler tones in the morning to warmer hues in the evening, and this can help to mirror the body's natural rhythm. And this in turn will support energy during the day and help you transition to relaxation in the evening and at nighttime. Now that's that for the living room. Let's move on to the kitchen, which is a completely different story from everywhere else, because here you want to feel alert and you want to be precise in your activities. And this is not the space for using soft dim lighting, especially during the daytime. Bright white light, which is similar to natural daylight, enhances focus and reduces sluggishness. And this is crucial when you're preparing meals or your task switching. Now, if your kitchen features blue tones, pairing them with bright white light, which has the blue spectrum of light in it, can sometimes feel too cold and almost clinical. But when you add natural materials like wood finishes, stone finishes, or even plants, this helps to soften that effect, which creates a space that feels both functional and inviting. If you prefer green in your kitchen, you're in luck, because green remains stable under most lighting conditions, which makes it an ideal choice for a space that sees a lot of activity throughout your day. Now that's that with the kitchen. There's a lot more to unpack here, and this is where a one-on-one consultation would come in really handy, where we look at your particular space and your particular needs, and we'll propose design strategies based on those. Now, having said that, let's move on to the bathroom, which is another unique challenge, because this is a task and relaxation oriented space where you want clarity, but you also want to infuse the space with a sense of calm. So cool toned lighting is often recommended because it enhances visibility for tasks like skincare application and makeup application. But if it's too blue heavy, it can feel harsh and almost sterile. Now, a better approach to lighting is to use neutral white lights, which provides clarity without being overwhelming. So if your bathroom features soft greens or warm neutrals, diffused lighting like backlit mirrors or frosted sconces can help to maintain a gentle spa-like atmosphere without the harshness. And also here as well, it's helpful to layer your lighting. Think overhead lighting, Think wall washers, sconces, think accent lightings on the lower levels of your bathroom. Now, now that the bathroom is done with, let's move on to the home office. And this is also super important because there's many more of us working from home these days post-COVID. And the right light and color pairing can be the difference between mental clarity and midday brain fog. So it's important to find a good balance between color saturation, color hues, and the right light saturation as well. And the transitioning of daytime to evening time if you work long hours into the evening. Now, studies show that blue tones enhance cognitive function and focus, which makes them an excellent choice for the workspace. So if you like the blue color, the color blue, it's excellent. It's an excellent choice for a workspace because it enhances focus. But if it's paired with warm lighting, that focus enhancing effect can be diluted. So bright, cool toned lighting in the morning would help to maintain your alertness. But as the day winds down, you want to reduce the blue light intensity because it is essential to prevent overstimulation towards evening time. So if you install a smart lighting system that transitions with you from daylight mimicking tones in the morning to softer, warmer hues in the evening, this can support productivity while protecting your sleep cycle, which is important. So if you're not able to install a smart lighting system, don't despair. Another alternative is to fit out your workspace with a variety of light levels. So think pendant lighting or recessed ceiling lights. Think wall washers or sconces and table or floor lamps that can help you switch from overhead to low level lighting as the day progresses into night if you're working late. Now, let us move on to the dining room, and I think this is the last space I'm going to diagnose here. The dining room benefits from a lot of warmth because this is where social connections happen. This is where we relax, we enjoy a meal. There's a lot of sensory experiences happening in a relaxed environment, and it's really important to get the lighting and the ambiance right in the space. So warm neutrals, terracottas, and earthy greens paired with soft golden light create an inviting atmosphere. On the other hand, harsh, cool lighting can make food look unappetizing and create a disconnect between the space and the sensory experience of dining. So a simple adjustment like installing a dimmer or a dimmer switch or choosing bulbs with a lower color temperature can make all of the difference between a beautiful dining experience and an overwhelming dining experience. So finally, let us talk about, it wasn't the last one. The last space is our transition spaces. I did a podcast on transition spaces. It's a really intriguing part of the home. And if you don't understand yet the neuroscience of transition spaces, I encourage you to go listen to that podcast. It's really cool. So much cool research in there. I think you're going to enjoy it and find it useful. So that said, let's talk about hallways and transition spaces. These areas are often overlooked, but they play a crucial role in cognitive transitions and how we shift from one activity space to the next and from one zone to the other. And when lighting is too stark or inconsistent, it can create subtle stress responses, which makes movement between rooms feel quite abrupt and just harsh. So when you use soft greens or warm grays or muted blues, these provide a sense of continuity. And most importantly, when you're transitioning from one space to the next, like you're moving from your living room space, for instance, to your bedroom, always make sure that there is an element of the living space interpreted in your transition space that's also articulated in your bedrooms, and this allows for a smooth transition through visual cues from those transition spaces. It's an interesting subject, and I'm going to do a podcast on connecting spaces through color and visual cues. Now, I said soft greens, warm grays, or muted blues provide a sense of continuity, and pairing them with diffused and indirect lighting, such as wall sconces or recessed LED strips, create a smoother and more intuitive transition between these spaces. And that's that for interior zones in your residential spaces where you can benefit a great deal from pairing light and color to optimize your cognitive well-being. And at the end of the day, we should know that our homes are not just containers for our lives. They are environments that actively shape our mood, our energy levels, and even our cognitive function. And the way the light interacts with color is not just an aesthetic choice. It's a functional one, especially for women who are navigating hormonal shifts and all of the sensitivities that come with it. Our sensitivity to environmental triggers increases during this phase, and which means that every design decision, small or large, from the color of our walls to the temperature of our lighting fixtures and installments, they can either support or disrupt our well-being. Light and color are not just decorative choices. They're very essential tools that help to shape our cognitive and emotional states. And if you've been struggling with sleep, with your sleep quality or sleep architecture, with your focus on moods or having mood swings, your home might be playing a bigger role than you might think. And I encourage you to take a fresh look at your lighting and color choices today. Now think about this. Does your blue bedroom feel cold at night, or does your green wall lose its vibrancy after sunset? These small environmental cues might be telling you something. It might be telling you that it's time to make an adjustment and it's time to relook your interior space. When we make intentional design choices, we can create homes that work in harmony with our body systems rather than against them. And that's the beauty of neuroscience-informed interior design. It's not just about what looks good. It's about what truly feels good and supports you in your home space. If you'd like to dive deeper into how light and color can be optimized for your home, I am putting together an e-guide with actionable tips that you can tailor to your unique needs as a woman in perimenopause and postmenopause. And it will be available to purchase on my website in a few weeks. In a few days, because I already started working on it. Apologies. And if you're ready for a personalized approach, I offer one-on-one consultations, one-off consultations. I also offer the coaching program that I plugged earlier. And they're two different things, because one-on-one consultations, it's a one-off thing, but the program, it's me and you working together over a period of 6 months to build your interior design toolkit. These consultations and the program would help you create a home that actively supports your well-being. And the link to book a consultation, if that's what you want, or to visit my landing page to learn more about the Revention program, they're all in the show notes. So we've come to the end of the episode. Thank you for sticking around, and I hope that you've had a few aha moments, and a few of the strategies here have inspired you to make changes in your residential space to support you. So if this episode has resonated with you, please share it with someone who you know would benefit from the information that's shared here. And if you'd like to hear more neuroscience-backed design strategies, please subscribe to my podcast on Spotify or YouTube so you don't miss the next episode. And until next time, remember, light takes mood, color amplifies it, so design wisely. Stay well, be well, and take care. Bye.